What is your go-to never-fail joke? I went to the doctor's recently. He said, "Don't eat anything fatty." I said, "What? Like bacon and burgers?" He said, "No. Fatty, don't eat anything." Quote. That was great. A woman is walking home with her 3 daughters Rose, Lily, and Cinderblock. Rose asks her mother, "Mom, why did you name me Rose?" To which her mother replies, "Well, sweetie, when we were coming home from the hospital with you, a rose fell on your head." Lily, curious now, asks her mother, "Mom, why did you name me after a flower too?" To which her mother replies, "Well, sweetie, when we were coming home from the hospital with you, a lily fell on your head." Cinderblock says to her mother, "HGHGHDNBGHH?" 2 altar boys are fishing on a dock. One of the boys gets a bite and struggles to reel him in. When he finally gets the best of the fish, he snatches him up and proclaims to the other altar boy, "Look at this big some bee." The other altar boy says, "You can't say that, you're an altar boy." To which he explains, "That's the name of the fish. Some bee." "Wow. Well, that is a big some bee. Let's go show it to the priest." The 2 boys run up to the priest yelling, "Priest, look at this big some bee we caught." "Priest, you boys can't talk like that, you're altar boys." "Altar boys." "Priest, that's the name of the fish. Some bee." "Priest, well, that is a nice some bee. Let's go catch some more of those some BS and show 'em to the cardinal." So the priest and the boys catch some more of those some BS and carry them to show the cardinal. "Cardinal, look at all these some BS we caught." "Cardinal, I should have you all excommunicated for language like that." Altar boys, well, that's the name of the fish. Some bee. "Cardinal, I never in my life have seen such a fine bunch of some BS. Let's take them to the nuns and see if she'll cook up these some BS." So the altar boys, the priest and the cardinal go see the nun. "Nun, can you cook up these some BS for us?" "Nun, I ain't cooking nothing if you boys are gonna talk like that." Altar boys, "Nun, that's the name of the fish. Some bee." "Nun, well, since you boys went through the trouble of catching all these some BS, I reckon I could fry these some BS up." That night the Pope is visiting town and sets down for supper with the altar boys, priest, cardinal, and nun. Altar boys, "I can't believe we caught all these some BS." Priest, "These are the best some BS I have ever ate." Cardinal, "Nun, you cooked these some BS just right." "Nun, I sure did. You boys gotta catch some more of these some BS." The Pope looks around at everyone with a surprised look on his face. He cracks a grin and says, "Y'all mother f***ers are all right. Why do you never see hippos hiding in trees? Because they're very good at it." I think the Rainforest Cafe takes the whole rainforest theme too far. This one time I was sitting there eating my chicken tenders and they bulldozed 40% of the restaurant. I searched a list of 10 puns to find one that made me laugh. No pun intended. To the person who stole my copy of Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word. You really excel at jokes, don't you? I suppose I just have a good outlook on comedy. A man had been drinking at a bar all night and pukes down the front of his shirt. "Shish I can't go home like this, my wife will kill me." The bartender sees this and says, "Put a $20 bill in you pocket, and when she sees the puke, tell her some drunk puked on you and gave you $20 for dry cleaning." So the guy goes home and his wife sees the puke on his shirt and asks what happened. To which he replies, "A drunk guy puked on me and he gave me $20 to pay for dry cleaning." To which his wife says, "Okay, well then why do you have $40 in your hand?" "Because he also s in my pants." Quote. Dad is listening to his daughter say her prayers before bedtime. She says, "God bless mommy and God bless daddy and God bless grandma and goodbye grandpa." He asks her, "Why did you say that?" "I don't know. I just felt like saying it." The next day, Grandpa drops dead. "Wow. Thanks Dad. That's an odd coincidence." A month later at bedtime, the daughter says, "God bless mommy and daddy. And goodbye grandma." Sure enough, the next day grandma breathes her last earthly breath. The dad realizes this is more than a coincidence. But he is not sure what to do. He doesn't want to disturb his wife by telling her grandma and grandpa were her parents. Months go by and one night the man is listening to his daughter saying her prayers at bedtime, "God bless mommy." She turns her head and looks straight at him, and "Goodbye daddy." "What? Are you sure honey?" She nods. The man's heart begins racing and he breaks out in a sweat. He is so upset. He can't sleep at all that night. The next day he goes off to work, but locks himself in his office. He takes the phone off the hook, cancels all his meetings and awaits the inevitable. He stays at work past 5 because he feels secure there. He watches the hours tick by. Finally it is midnight and, drenched in sweat, he realizes he has cheated death. He drives home drenched in sweat and with all his nerves frazzled. His wife is up and waiting for him. "Where the hell were you today?" He replies, "Don't shout. I've had an absolutely miserable day." His wife then says, "You had a miserable day? I'm the one who had a miserable day. First, the milkman drops dead on the steps. That was a build-up that was good. A man is getting a checkup. Doctor, you have to stop masturbating. Man, why? Doctor, because I'm trying to examine you." Single quote. Whole thing done in thick fake accents. A Russian, a Frenchman, and an Englishman are in an art museum admiring a painting of Adam and Eve in the Gardens of Eden. The Englishman takes a look at the painting and says, "They look so calm. They must be British." The Frenchman responds, "No. They're naked. So beautiful. They must be French." The Russian says, "They have no food. No shelter. Nothing but an apple to eat. And they are being told this is paradise? They're clearly Russian." An old religious woman goes to a pet store to buy a parrot. Everything is fine until she brings it home. It begins to swear uncontrollably. F this. F that. F you, and finally the lady can stand it no more. She grabs the bird, shoves it in the freezer, and slams the door shut. Squawking, shrieking, pounding, and cursing come out of the freezer for a few moments and then it goes quiet. The woman is scared that she has hurt the bird and opens the freezer. The parrot walks calmly out and steps gently onto the woman's outstretched hand. He looks into the lady's eyes and says, "Ma'am, I am truly sorry if my language offended you and it will not recur. If I may ask, what did the chicken do?" A vacationing penguin is driving his car through Arizona when he notices that the oil pressure light is on. He gets out to look and sees oil dripping out of the motor. He drives to the nearest town and stops at the first gas station. After dropping the car off, the penguin goes for a walk around town. He sees an ice cream shop and, being a penguin in Arizona, decides that something cold would really hit the spot. He gets a big dish of ice cream and sits down to eat. Having no hands, he makes a real mess trying to eat with his flippers. After finishing his ice cream, he goes back to the gas station and asks the mechanic if he's found the problem. The mechanic looks up and says, "It looks like you blew a seal." No. The penguin replies, "It's just ice cream." Single quote. A guy is in a doctor's office. His doctor is there with him. "I have 2 pieces of bad news." The doctor says, "What are they?" "Well, the first piece of news is that you have cancer." "What's the second piece of news?" he asks. "Well, the second piece of bad news is that you have Alzheimer's." The man laughs and says, "Well, at least I don't have cancer." Single quote. 2 hobos were walking down the tracks. They encounter a mangy old dog sitting in the middle of the tracks, contorted into that weird position and licking his nuts. One hobo says wistfully, "Gee, I wish could do that." His companion replies, "Well, maybe you should start by petting him first." Quote, "I arranged a THR-some on the weekend. Had 2 no-shows. But I still had fun." A THR-some? If I wanted to disappoint 2 people at once, I'd have dinner with my parents. You know Orion's belt? Waste of space. I know. Not a very good joke. 3 stars. So 2 cows are talking in a field. The first cow says, "Hey man, you worried about this mad cow disease that is going around?" The second cow says, "I am sure glad it doesn't affect us helicopters." Single quote. 2 nuns go driving between convents. They're driving through the country when a vampire jumps onto the hood. The passenger nun says, "Quick, show him your cross." The other nun says, "Get the F off my car." There are 3 old ladies sitting on a park bench. A man in a trench coat walks by and flashes them. 2 of the old ladies have a stroke. The other one couldn't reach that far. A man on vacation with his family arrives at a hotel. As he's checking in, he says to the clerk, "I'm on vacation with my family. Please make sure the PRN channel is disabled." The clerk replies in disgust, "It's just regular PRN. You sick FCK." What do you get when you cross a joke with a rhetorical question? There are 2 kinds of people in the world, those who need closure. How many Germans does it take to change a light bulb? 1. We are efficient and don't have humor. Do you know what really grinds my gears? Nothing. I'm German and my engineering is perfect. A man and his wife are running out of money. Now out of options. The wife decides to take up prostitution to get some money. The husband takes her to the corner of the street. And later comes back that night. Picking up his wife. He turns to her and asks, "How much did you make?" She replies, $200. Oh 5. The husband double takes and says, "Who's the a-hole who paid you 5 cents? And the wife says, "All of them." A wife calls her husband and says, "Be careful driving home. Some complete moron is driving down the wrong side of the motorway." The husband replies, "There's not just one. There's bloody hundreds of them." A woman is sitting at her recently deceased husband's funeral. A man leans into her and asks, "Do you mind if I say a word?" "No. Go right ahead." The woman replies. The man stands, clears his throat, says plethora, and sits back down. "Thanks." The woman says, "That means a lot."